be nice.
Asking about this, and you like ask me if it like makes sense, just like.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm probably not.
I've had a lot
No,
of
you're
fun.
fine. It took me a while to understand.
But like, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I just think
That's
that
That's
we
okay.
could really kind of maybe up on that actually.
And use that to switch them. Perfect. Okay.
I guess really you would mess up my first control. Probably weather.
Can I go? Yeah, let's go for it. So my lesson is about fractions, specifically equivalent fractions. And so it's a 3rd grade standard explaining the equivalence of fractions and comparing the fractions by their size. And so what we're gonna do is start out by looking at the 2 fractions on the board and take a second and like think about these 2 fractions and see like what you notice. And then once you have an idea, go ahead and talk with a partner if you guys want to get together too. Sorry.
Carly, you are recording, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. What do we notice about these 2 fractions? Somebody want to raise their hand and share? Yeah?
The one on the right is like times 2.
Yeah. So we already know that a fraction is a part of the whole, and then today we're going to learn about how different fractions are able to represent the same amount. So what we're going to do in the classroom, I would have you guys actually make the fraction strips. So this activity is making actual fraction strips that we would be able to use during our lessons and assignments on fractions. And so instead of making them, you want me to?
If you have one.
We're just gonna,
Hand colored them.
and I hand colored them.
I hope you recruited someone.
I did. And so instead of actually making them, for time purposes, we're just gonna cut the fraction strips out. And then as you guys are cutting them out, I want you guys to pay attention to what fractions look the same and what you can tell about the different numbers in the fractions. Alright, so as you guys are cutting, just a couple of things to remember are the definitions. So fractions are a part of the whole, so each different color represents a different fraction. An equivalent fraction are when 2 fractions have the same value, such as the 1/2 and then 2/4. And then the numerator is the top number in the fraction, and that represents how many parts we have. And then the denominator is the bottom number, and it's how many parts the whole is divided into.
Like my method.
I like that.
That's like
Yeah.
I'm trying something new.
It's a really different way to cut
It's
that.
slightly more difficult.
And I like it. I like it.
Yeah. But then I just feel like that means you're I stole them. It's one less practice. I never want to call it practice strips again. Is that fair?
As you guys are cutting, I want you to pay special attention to what different fractions you can find that equal each other. So there are some that equal a lot, so like the 1/12, so you can find equivalent fractions with multiple, and then there are some like 1/5 that there's not a whole lot that is equivalent, but there are still some. So I want you guys to find some of those, and then once you're done cutting, put those equivalent fractions together. Okay. If you guys aren't done cutting, that's okay. You can keep working. Does anybody have two fractions that you found that are equivalent? Couple volunteers. Lily?
1/2 and 3/6 are equivalent.
Good. Any others? Yeah.
1/2 and 4/8.
Okay. Good. One more.
1/3 and 2/6.
Good. Alright, so as you guys are still finishing up, I have an exit activity, so if you guys like have another piece of paper. The first question is to use the fraction strips and find two sets of fractions that are equivalent and draw a picture on your sheet of paper that represents those two fractions, and then explain what it means when two fractions represent the same amount. So the first one you're making a picture, and then the second one you're just using your words and explaining equivalent fractions. And then in the classroom, I would end up like collecting the exit ticket, and then the fraction strips I would put in like little baggies for the students, and they would be able to like take them out during like different math activities, so they're able to use them, so they can actually see the representations of the fractions instead of just seeing the numbers. But yeah, that's it.
Alright, nice work. Thanks, Carly. I wish I had baggies, because I tell you to keep these, because you still have a whole other semester and a half with me in math methods, and who knows when we get eyes this.
Yeah, and I spent a long time coloring, so.
And Carly worked hard on it.